I actually had the opportunity to speak with Kevin Durant's stylist when he was with the Golden State Warriors. And I was very green to styling. And I told her, I said, I want to style athletes. And she said, why, when you're styling professionals so great? And I was very offended at that moment because I said, how dare she tell me to just stay in my lane when I want to be a stylist to XYZ. And what I needed to learn was, you're doing this really well. People are coming to you from this. They're getting joy from the talent that you are providing them. Why don't you just do that? But then when I became an expert at that, that's when I got all the other things, right?
Right.
Exactly. I became the stylist to executives, who then became the stylist to entrepreneurs, who then became the stylist to entertainers, because these people who run these companies are telling these actors about me.
Or ambassadors for their company, right?
Exactly. And then they're like, well, we don't want to go the traditional celebrity stylist route. We like what Germanee's doing. Can we work with Germanee? And so it's been a blessing that even though she told me to stay in my lane, your gifts make room for you. So like, yes, they do. So yes, I learned to be grateful for the clients who I was servicing, and I will forever be grateful for them. And I will forever champion myself as a stylist to executives, entrepreneurs, professionals, and then the entertainers, because the people who was down and with me in the beginning, those were my girls, right? But again, your gifts make room for you. And so when you have done the work and stayed in your lane and didn't pivot when you were not supposed to, that's when you get everything that you wanted.
Yeah, girl. That was the craziest year. 6 months, like 6 months with that company, so toxic. And then 6 months on an airbed, like every day figuring out your life, like all over again. After you've built this company day and night to get to this point. And now you have buyers asking you, what's going on with the brand? Next collection is coming. We're working really hard. And like just completely like trying to not ruin the brand, because I knew that I was going to get it back, or I knew that I was going to fight for it back. And then if I told this story, would they even support it when I got it back, you know? But let me tell you, when a woman gets fed up, okay? When a woman gets fed up, I was in month 5 of paying my lawyer. I don't think I've ever told this story this openly, but I was at month 5 of paying my lawyer, and I had just messaged one of my best friends, who's like my business bestie of Mach 3. And I was like, girl, read over my resume. Best Buy is hiring right down the street, and they're paying $19 an hour. I can work their night shift to pay my staff, right? Like no one would know. It's like super off the grid, and it's night shift, like it's stocking. Like, okay, who cares? Yeah, no one will see me. And she's like, no. She's like, girl, I'm not doing that. She's like, if you build $1 million business, build another one. And I was like, but I can. Like, Alex, I don't know how. Like,
I'm like this, trying to float this one. Right.
This is all I've done, and they are making it so hard for me. The name of my store was Cupcake Mafia. They stopped selling me, the vendor, Cupcake Mafia merchandise. So imagine my customers coming to a Cupcake Mafia store with no Cupcake Mafia. Then they stopped selling my husband, my boyfriend at the time, Cupcake Mafia merchandise, because they knew that he would give it to me. Then they stopped selling my friends that were like literally wiping.
There was no way.
There was no way. There was no.
They were erasing you.
They were erasing me from. They started to take my checks. They started to, like, every little residual check, everything they were taking. And so I was like, okay, I got to think of something else. But that exact moment, and this is why it's so important to have amazing people around you and friends around you that's not going to be like, because she could have made that resume.
Dressed up your resume and been like, it's all good. We're going to do what we got to do.
Yes, we're going to do what we got to do.
I've had that moment.
But having a friend like that was like, you built a business, like a multi-million-dollar business at that, build another one, and this is how you do it. She's like, get on Periscope, use your voice, start talking about all the experience, girl, Periscope. I'm like, am I dating myself? But like, get on Periscope, share your information, talk about what you've done, like share the story. Don't talk about losing the business, talk about how you built the business. That's what people want to know. Then from there, I started doing $25 classes on Sundays after we closed in my store. Girl, they were packed, like 50 people packed in my store. That was paying the rent. Then I was doing Periscope. Then I started doing webinars. Then I built a community called Girl Mob.
Yep.
So it was like all of those things spiraled into, now I'm teaching the information and people see what she did it. So now people are calling me like, hey, can you do it for my brand? So then I started to be a consultant, helping people connect with buyers that I already had relationships with.
Right.
And buyers connect with brands that I have relationships with. And so that like spiraled into its own thing and giving me the revenue that I needed, the faith that I needed, the support, like all the confidence that I needed as a business owner to go out and then fight for my brand back. So when a woman gets fed up, she gets fed up. Let me tell you, I called my lawyer. He sent me an invoice. I remember this. He sent me an invoice. It was like over $5,000. And when I tell you, like every ounce of my body just died.
Right.
Like I have paid you
so much money.
So much money.
And you get that like, I cannot do it
anymore.
Yes.
Girl, this is I'm telling you. This is like when you have to get creative.
Right.
So I started thinking, what is going to make them upset more than, like, what will move this along faster?
Right.
I have to be courageous. I have to be bold.
Yes.
I have to like put my foot down, or they're just going to keep mushing over me because they know I'm going to run out of money.
Right.
They know that. And so I was like, all right, let me put my foot down. So I sent them an email. It was time for me to sell my New York, get rid of my New York apartment. New York is such a big deal thing, but whatever. It's not just like moving out. It's not as easy for people that live in New York, you know. So it was time for me to like get rid of that apartment / condo, whatever you want to call it. And I sent them an email and I was like, hey, so my plan was to let them know that I will ruin the brand on this day. So I owned the social media still. I still had the domain name. I still had all of these things that they needed access to. Okay, wait, let me circle back. So one, I got the invoice from my lawyer. Two days after that, I got a call from a company in China saying, hi, Mary, we're buying your company. We're so excited that we're purchasing this company from the distribution company. And we're going to need access to all of these things. And we're so happy that you're on board. Mike and them told us that you're on board and blah, 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 blah. And I literally was like, I am not on board. I will ruin this company before I allow them to sell it to you because we are already in a legal battle. It's not that this is just me willing to give
never
this
have
up.
it back.
Like, no. And so they were like shook, and obviously they went away. And so that's one reason why the company was even open to hearing, because they were like, she's going to run away every person that tries to buy this brand, and they almost have to go through her because she's also on the paperwork still. Even as a minority owner, she's still on the paperwork. So, girl. So anyways,
the burn it down approach. You were like, fine.
I'm burning
you want
down.
it? I'll burn it down. You'll have nothing.
I'll burn it down. So I walked into a mall one day. I was like, I have to open up another retail store because this is the only money that I'm really seeing right now is from retail. So I walked into a mall one day. I signed a lease and they were like, what do you want to name the store? And I was like, Cupcake Mafia. Girl, I had a grand opening, big grand opening too. Celebrities there. They sent me an email. Are you crazy? You don't own this name, blah, blah, blah. I was like, sue me. That's great. Sue me. It'll be faster. You actually have to hear my side and they'll, like, sue me, do whatever you need to do. What are you going to sue me for, this airbed?
Right.
Like,
you gotta have nothing.
This Forever 21 clothes in this airbed. Sure.
You can have it all.
You can have it. Like, I have nothing at this point. And so it was that. And then it was, okay, so I did that. And then it riled them up. They started, sending legal paperwork. Then I did it again. I opened another store in another mall, named it the exact same thing. So now I have 3 retail stores, not even selling Cupcake Mafia merchandise, but because I'm a marketing genius, I knew what to do. And I knew that my audience did not need the logo.
No.
They needed the phrases. They needed the fonts. They needed the colors. They didn't care if the logo was on there or not. I could just put CM. Like, I could put anything on there and they will buy it because they know the branding, which is why I'm so big on people building out their branding before they start selling anything, is because without the logo, I still made $300K that year with no logo attached to the product. But because people identified the brand with the fonts, the textures, the colors, they was like, oh, that's a Cupcake Mafia product, right? And so, yeah, girl. So I opened 3 stores. They still ruffled their feathers, still no motion. I said, okay, I know what to do. I called my friend who worked at the New York Times. Shout out to you, friend. I called my friend. I was like, friend, I need you to put
Friends
your job.
in important places. Thank you.
I said, I need you to put your job on the line. Like, I don't know what I need to do, but I need you to do this. And I asked her to write an article about me losing my company. And like, she could write the article and put it in the paper, but she couldn't put it on the front page.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, just write the article, but can you ask someone to put it on the front page and just send me like a screenshot, right? And because I can't just be like, oh, it's going in the New York Times on the 47th page. I need to say this is going to be on the front page. And so for me, like I just told her, I'm like, hey, she did it. I made a cover. I hired a writer, ghostwriter. And I was like, okay, I want to write a book about my story, talking about how as a Black woman, I was literally fired from my company. They tried to sell it and all of the things after like literally helping them build their distribution company up. And so I had this book, I had the article, and I sent them an email. I was like, hey, I'm coming to New York on this day to close out my apartment. And this is the final day that we have to talk about this. I'm not paying no more lawyers. I'm not going back and forth with you guys anymore. I'm going to ruin the brand and talk about, I've already named the company. Here's a trademark. Because I already had another name called Official Girl Gang. And I've already trademarked it. So I'm like, I'll just change this Instagram name. I'm going to change the website. And my whole audience is going to be on my side because they're going to be like, how did you guys do this? Right. Like, wow, you took her company
right out from under her.
Yeah.
Right.
For what reason, you know? And so they emailed me back so quickly and was like, what time are you available? Walked into that office. They tried to get me to pay $200K for my brand. It started way higher than that. We got to $200K. I was like, no. I walked away with like a $60K investment back into my brand with all of my inventory, with all of my trademarks. Yeah. And no other company has ever fought them. And I've seen them work with the best. And I'm not even going to mention, it's a lot of celebrities have went through their company and lost their brands.
You're one of the legends back home now because you beat the odds. Because there's not a whole lot to do where we're from. Like there's just not a whole lot. It's like about a handful of 5 of things you can really get yourself into to make a way for yourself. This being one of the hardest. When did you know this was the thing? Like at what age? Because like it's kids with hobbies, it's kids with talents. And then I think you get at a certain age, somewhere in high school, where you're like, okay, this will stop it when I graduate, or this is something I'm definitely going to carry on and take really seriously. What was the year that you were like, watch this?
I don't know. I think I had it like at a young age. I told one of my coaches, I'm going to be in the NFL. This is me at a young age. I'm going to be in the NFL. So I believe I manifested it at a young age. But I always, felt like this was my dream. I never had a plan B.
Oof.
I never had a plan B. I remember a teacher asked me, did I have a plan B? I told her no. And she said, you're going to need one. I said, I won't. And then I kind of like had a like shock because I was like,
wait, do I?
I said, if I put all my marbles and, if I have my marbles and I put them in plan A and plan B, I'm not locked into this plan A. So I need to make sure all my marbles is in this plan A and I'm gonna be locked in. This is what I want to do. So if I got marbles in both, I'm not focused on plan A because I'm trying to make plan B work too. So if I work on this plan A plan B gonna come also. So me come to the lead, that's my plan A, and stuff around it that's going to develop, that's my plan B while I'm still doing plan A.
Don't make a singular incident global phenomenon. I'm gonna say that again, slower. Be careful not to make a singular incident global phenomenon. Dr. Delatorro, what do you mean by that? If you take a one-time experience and you broad brushstroke everything else that happens after that, saying that's just the way it is with everyone, you've taken a singular incident and you've made it global phenomenon. So if you say, oh my God, I had one bad podcast host interviewer, So I'm not doing podcasts anymore. Or I dated this chick and she was like this, so I'm not going to date that kind of woman anymore ever again. Or right, the more I went to therapy one time and the person was, maybe they were having a bad day, maybe they're caregiving for an elderly parent and they're just exhausted, they're burnt out, but they need the money so they can't take time off.
This is what we do when we're hurt, though. We do extremes.
We do extremes, and we broad brushstroke and we say, okay, because watch, you didn't want to go to therapy to begin with,
right?
So you were looking for a way out
to get out, correct?
When you went, and you will always find. Oh shucks, Jess, y'all, you got to understand this. You will always find what you're looking for.
Always.
You will, if you are trying to find what's wrong with this person, you will make up. The brain is such a masterful machine.
Literally.
You will make up stuff.
Yes.
Just to prove. There's a psychological phenomenon that I love to teach on, sis, and it's called confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. And most people don't understand what confirmation bias is, but confirmation bias is an incredibly powerful tool.
Yep.
If used correctly.
Yep.
Confirmation bias says this: as soon as I have a strongly held belief or a bias towards something or someone, the brain goes about the job of collecting evidence to prove that my bias is correct. It confirms my bias. It looks for evidence to say you're right.
Yeah.
At the same time as it looks for evidence to validate me being right, it intentionally hides from me any proof of the contrary. So here's how confirmation bias is working against you in love and romantic relationships. You go through a bad relationship, you don't heal correctly after the relationship, and so now you say all men are this way. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you say all men are this way because this person treated you that way, or all military men are that way, or all women that come from pastors or PK kids, or I don't care what it is, or all guys that go to the gym are this way, or all girls that came from this college are this way, or women who are from a sorority are this way. Every time you lump humanity into one thing because of one experience you've had, your brain's going to start finding more proof to say, you know what, you're right. Yes, all men are dogs. So what confirmation bias is going to do is show you all the dogs, and it's going to hide from you all the healed gentlemen, because you said that all men are dogs. So all confirmation bias, your brain is on a job 24/7 to prove you right. But the problem, sis, is you're right.
The ego's job is to protect you.
Exactly. So you're right, but you ain't happy. You're miserable because of confirmation bias. So we have to be careful what we believe.
Yo, I was a year after I had quit my job, and he's like, yo, you need to talk to Dominick. And I'm like, what's he up to? And he literally says, it's like this. It's like Real World, but for entrepreneurs. And I was like,
yeah,
that sounds pretty cool.
And that's how we said it. MTV Real World plus HBO Silicon Valley, put those TV shows together, subtract the drugs and the alcohol, and you have Lactose, right? Yeah. But
it's very valid.
Exactly, right? So everybody's marching to 54. If anybody threw out an idea and it wasn't in relationship to the goal, it's like,
cut it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is the year we're all about to have benefits, whole 9 yards, all this stuff. But we had to stop. It burned. The world stopped. So I think you have to be willing to let go, right? Because if you can let go of the baby and not try to coddle it and all these things and let it fall as it walks, it's going to learn how to get back up. And that was us. And so when you look back 2020 to now, golly, the very thing that we used to vet founders to come in, our ACT model, which was like a drag and drop assessment at first, is now like this whole psychometric assessment. We've had like 2,000 people take it. We now can predict like matching teams in a way that's crazy. So it's like, we're literally providing the world common language about how to design, build, and invest in teams. You take that, now our accelerator will get a chance to like touch an inequality, a racial inequality aspect within venture capital and accelerators, where we can invest in Black and Latino-led startups, 45 companies we've invested in. Dave went off to raise like $12 million in revenue. And then also, just like what's happening, you have to sit back and just say, good grief. Like if we would have held on so tightly to the hopes and dreams that we had about co-living, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Right.
I might be locked up. Like, because somebody was going to die.
Right.
somebody was gonna die.
That's my second idea. Second failed idea.
Yeah, we're doing co-living.
Right.
So this is 3 people, 3 beds, 6 people in a house. Not three people, not 3 beds, 3 baths, like 3 people. It's like 336. So it's a different ball game. And like, is that model great? Yes. But like customer behaviors and everything has to change in order for that to ever return back to the way that it needs to be.
So how did this call you to pivot? Like, what did this tell you about your life that you were like, and I don't say wrong, but it again, it made us like, we're talking about this, but the way that this taught me presence and like the way that I actually wanted my life to look could not, like, I was like, oh, that whole foundation had to be broken. Like I had to look at life completely different. That lens I had to take that lens off, get a whole new lens. And now that I can see that way, I'm like, oh, I wanted my life to be completely different. It called for an entirely different pivot. So how did this experience, deep diving into yourself, how did this require or call you to pivot your life?
I would say, for me, it required me to step back and be the student of my teachings. I think that as a teacher, as a coach, as an empowerment professional, whatever you want to call it, sometimes you can move so far away from like the reason you started and the space that you were in when you started that you can actually become disconnected from the people you're supporting. And for me, it was an invitation like, okay, you're supposed to be helping people do this work. You got to do the work. And the pivot was do this work, because on the other side, you're going to come out able to support people even better because now it's fresh again. Versus, when I started My Fab Finance in 2013, that's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
My life is so different. So different.
Right.
So it required me to become a student again, but it also made me realize that you know what you're talking about. Like to be able to go through a divorce and to be good and to take pretty much 2 years off of working and to still be able to run your business, to still be able to have all your bills met and all your needs met. Like you talk about financial security, baby. This is what it was. Yes. This is what led you to doing this. So it made me realize like you knew what you were talking about, you knew what you were doing, but now you're being invited to do this at a different level. And so my pivot was realizing it is time to be the student. Let's pivot from being the teacher to being the student of your life and learning these things you need to do to cope in this season so that you can become an even better teacher. So now I'm pivoting to becoming an even better teacher because I spent the past 2 years, and it's still ongoing, but I spent the past 2 years becoming a student of my healing work that needed to be done. Yeah, and listen, I anticipate I'm going to have to become a student again.
Yeah. And I regress. I backtrack. I make mistakes.
I don't want to be the student again. Taxing. But that is life. That is life.
That is life.
We keep getting, especially those of us who operate in our highest self and like continue to push, like we keep getting initiated. And this is part of my initiation to the next level.
I'm tired. But no more initiation.
I said, God, like I had a conversation in the car and I was crying. I was like, it was like a Tyrese moment. What more do you want from me? Like, what do you want? And my sister, like my sister is literally, I say we chose to do life together. Like we knew each other before this.
This is exactly what you said to me in 2021.
When I
like,
was
my
with her.
sister was supposed to be here, and you literally gave me this whole spiel about how like you two are like.
Literally, like I feel like I get affirmed at least once a month. Like we were supposed to do this together. But even in like the conversation I had with her, like she can speak to me so clearly, and she speaks to my soul because I feel like we're really soul sisters.
Right.
And she was just like, what have you want God to complete this cycle, but what have you learned from this cycle? Just because you're taking the actions to move through it doesn't mean you've learned from it. And I think we confuse action with learning and processing, and it's not the same. And I was like, damn, you're right. I'm over here frustrated at God, like telling him I want it to be over. And I haven't learned or I haven't reflected on why it happened in the first place. I'm just kind of like, okay, figure that out, like handling all the obstacles thrown my way instead of really reflecting on what did that obstacle mean? Who was supposed to emerge from that obstacle? So I think for anybody who is wondering, like, when is it over? It's not necessarily over until you learn what you're supposed to. and we always gonna be learning. So that's the scary part. But I do have faith that we're all sitting here to learn life lessons.
Oh, absolutely.
And the better you get at these life lessons that you're supposed to learn, like the easier you like knock them out.
The muscle.
Like even after my divorce, I got into a relationship that was shadow work for me.
Yeah.
It was shadow work, but it was also, I got out of that quick.
Yes.
Like it was like, okay, time to go. And so I think that we become quicker in implementing.
Absolutely.
You living in that container saying things is going to land. And that's what I mean when I say have the self-awareness, right? If I go back to the story about this gentleman that I'm talking about, which I hope he's watching this episode because I can't remember exactly where he's from, but he's an amazing guy. He sends me hilarious things on Instagram. But anyway, like there is something valuable about having awareness about how people are receiving you. And so like, that's when, like, you know, I talk a lot, and this is in TED Talk as well, like your privilege, like you have to know it. And like part of your privilege is that you're walking around in a white body. You know what I'm saying? And so you saying things in certain spaces, in a lot of influential spaces, is going to carry a lot more gravity than me saying it.
Yeah.
And so I want you to say that it's a cute Black-owned coffee shop. I want you to tag them. I want you, you know what I'm saying? Because you are opening the perspective, you are opening the aperture so that folks are like, oh, it's not just Black folks that go to Black coffee shops. By the way, it's not. And so like that, we need that. But you're right. Like sometimes we don't have the person to ask to know, can I do this? And we're too afraid to take the chance. And so what you did that was different is that you were like, yo, I want to post this, but I don't know if I should. And you came and asked me. Many people would have just been like, ugh, I don't know if I should. I'm just not going to do it.
I'm not going to do it. I'm never going to say anything.
And I'm never going to say anything about it. I'm just going to move away from that because I don't know how to navigate in that space. And what I want more people to do is be willing to take the chance and navigate in the space.
This is almost a tad bit daring.
I mean, is it? I mean, like the worst you're gonna get is a no. Please get the no's.
But can you be a little bit more courageous?
Yes.
And being intentional and considerate in spaces that you don't know how to navigate.
Yes.
How crazy is that?
It's not crazy.
We risk ourselves in every other compartment of our lives.
But we don't feel like it's risk because it's familiar. It's familiar. And like, I think, you know, I just feel like if we were willing to just consider a little more, to just be receptive of a little more, to just see the value in a little more, we could ultimately get to the place that we all say that we want, which is, I am looking for equity, access, safety, opportunity. I am looking for that. If we were less confined by, it needs to look like this, it needs to be this way, or I shouldn't even engage with it because I don't know what to do. Like, we are literally shutting out entire livelihoods, experiences, opportunities, connections, access. And let's be real, y'all cut me off. I want mine. I would like my access. You know what I'm saying? I want my opportunities. Right. I want my resource. I want all of it. And I can't get it if you're in the way because you're uncomfortable, because you want to be awkward instead of engaging. And like, even if you engage and are a little awkward in the engagement, I would rather that. And so like there has to be, we just have to do as humans. And this is, you know, I want to just kind of make a small point here. And I think that this is clear, but I want to make sure. This is not to say it doesn't matter if you're Black. It doesn't matter if you're brown. It annoys me to no end when people are like, it doesn't matter where you come from, or, you know, it doesn't matter if you're poor. It does. It does. It shapes your entire world. Yep. It influences your decision making. Yep. It affects who you're able to connect with and build a relationship with. When you finally get to the point where you have money, suddenly now you've got to figure out how you navigate these two worlds together. Like, there's a lot of nuance there. You know, if you come from poverty, if you are a Black person, if you are a queer person, if you are an overweight person, if you are a very tall person, like, there's a lot of things that can get in the way of your experiences. Your uniqueness absolutely matters. But the way we get past it being obstructive is creating a world where we are expecting that people will see us. And we are expecting that people will, at the bare minimum, be willing to engage with me civilly. When the majority of the time, people just want to ignore you. Oh, that's weird. I don't know what that is. I'm not engaging. And it's shutting all of us off from the richness of the people that we can be. And I want mine. I want mine. So for me to get mine, y'all got to play along. So I'm out here in the world trying to preach to everybody like, listen, figure out what your privileges are. Get comfortable with them. Figure out how other people are not experiencing that. figure out the story around them not experiencing the privileges that you have, and then figure out how you can extend your privilege. Because likely, whatever privileges you have an abundance of it. She gave away $1 billion.
$1 billion.
It wasn't all the money she got. Okay, that wasn't it.
Like, there's plenty
the
left
fact that you
over.
had $1 billion to give away.
Right.
Okay, like, yeah, no, like your privilege is a place where you have a ton of abundance. And if you were just willing to just share that and share it responsibly, like the impact that we could all make is like, I mean, it's not impossible, and it's something that we all have. So like, why don't we do it?